Chapter 811. Long Wu never thought that some people compare Longjing to the dragon's beast pill, but think about it, it is true. Longjing is also formed in the dragon's body, and the dragon is also an animal, and it is not a beast pill. Pass. Irvin, didn't you say that on July 15th, let me go to Wuming Island? Why did I meet you here today? David asked the Irvin a little strangely. Irvin opened his mouth, but did not say a word, but Long Wu explained, things have changed, so we came back from Wuming Island, and we are going to stop you here. Things have changed. David frowned slightly. That's right. Originally, Butler Long asked you to go to Wuming Island on July 15th because he wanted you to sneak from Wuming Island to Suolong Island, and then get Longjing, but the people of the Long family seem to have guessed this, so they released the news. On the 15th day of July, the Dragon family will release Suolong Island, and anyone can land on the island. In this way, the number of people on Suolong Island will increase greatly, and your plan to steal Longjing will also be put on hold. After all, there are so many people. Someone will always see it. When Long Wu said this, his face became very solemn. After hearing this, David pondered, and now he finally knew that after Shen Dianshan met for him, he said that there would be a disaster on July 15th, what the disaster was. Getting the dragon crystal is easy to say, but it is really difficult to do. Otherwise, after so many years, why hasn't anyone else gone to get the dragon crystal? Seeing David pondering, the old Irvin took a deep breath and said slowly, Young master, you don't have to worry too much. The Long family does this because they don't know your identity, you can do it tomorrow. Follow everyone to Suolong Island generously. As for the matter of taking the dragon crystal, I will help you think about it. I have a map of the island here, and the most likely location of Sanjiang hiding. Irvin said, took out a map from his arms, and handed it to David tremblingly. Double dragons. David was surprised. He did not expect that there would be 2 dragons on Suolong Island. There are 2 dragons, the Yanlong and the Ice Dragon, on Suolong Island. Tomorrow is the day when the 2 dragons meet, so it is most suitable to land on the island, but this is just a legend. No one has really seen those 2 dragons, but Suolong there are many rare and exotic animals on the island, but they are also very dangerous. Butler Long was seriously injured because he was trying to draw a map. Long Wu glanced at the Irvin, and said with unbearable eyes. Long Wu, the old Irvin glared at Long Wu, obviously not wanting Long Wu to say it. David looked at the old Irvin and hurriedly grabbed the old Irvin's wrist. Old Irvin, are you injured? Let me help you see. When David grabbed the Irvin's wrist and a spiritual force penetrated into the Irvin, David's face changed greatly. He found out that Irvin was extremely weak at the moment, and his internal organs had stopped working, only his heart was still beating slightly. David did not expect that the injury of the Irvin would be so severe, and the whole person was stunned. Although he has the supreme alchemy record in his mind, at this moment, I am afraid that there is no time for him to make alchemy, because the Irvin's body can't last for too long. But the Irvin didn't care at the moment. The moment David touched him, the Irvin looked at David strangely. Little master, did you have any adventures? How can there be an aura in your body that doesn't belong to you? The old Irvin asked David. Oh, I got a dragon-slaying sword. David said, with a wave of his right hand, the dragon-slaying sword appeared in his hand, and there were clearly visible red marks on the dragon-slaying sword, as if there was blood flowing. Man and sword are one. Seeing this, Long Wu opened his eyes wide and looked surprised. Chapter 812. The Irvin has a smile on his face, ha ha ha, God bless the young master. With this dragon sword, the possibility of the young master getting the dragon crystal is even greater. Just after laughing twice, the Irvin coughed violently again, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. Irvin. Butler Long. David and Long Wu hurriedly supported the Irvin. Old Irvin waved his hand, still with a smile on his face. Long Wu, go and call a few girls, I have something to explain. Long Wu nodded and left, while David looked at the Irvin silently. At this moment, the breath of the Irvin was getting weaker and weaker, and his face was full of wrinkles, and he would die soon. A few girls were called by Long Wu. As soon as Xiao Ru entered the door, seeing the old Irvin's head, she rushed up, Master, Master, you! What's the matter with you? Xiaoru has been following Irvin for several months, and the two have already had a deep relationship, but the reason why Irvin taught Xiaoru is to let Xiaoru, the ice crystal body, be able to help David. The Irvin looked at Xiaoru and gently stroked Xiaoru's head, his eyes were full of guilt, for David, he actually needed Xiaoru to sacrifice his life. Xiaoru, I'm sorry, you won't blame me, will you? The Irvin desperately apologized. He had already told Xiaoru the matter, after all, this kind of thing required Xiaoru's consent. Xiaoru shook her head, all this is my own choice, I don't blame the master. Irvin glanced at the other girls, and finally put his eyes on Sonia, don't forget what you promised me, I hope you can do it. Several girls all nodded, among them Sonia's eyes were very firm, she knew that this sentence was addressed to her. Sonia is a fire spirit body, so she can also help David. If you encounter Ice Dragon and Yanlong on Suolong Island, it will be difficult to get Dragon Crystal with David's strength. Biting, a scorching hot. However, with Sonia and Xiaoru, as long as they are willing to sacrifice for David, David will have the greatest chance to take Longjing. The Irvin smiled, I'm finally worthy of the second lady, and I can finally see the master. After speaking, the Irvin slowly closed his eyes. Master! Irvin! Butler Long! There was sadness in the room, and David's hatred for Irvin at this moment had long since disappeared without a trace. David was holding the map in his hand tightly, which was exchanged for him by the Irvin with his life. Although he had not been on Suolong Island, he could guess the dangerous and harsh environment on Suolong Island. It was in such an environment that Irvin drew a map on the road for himself little by little. Tears fell from the corners of David's eyes instantly, but at this moment David's eyes became more determined. Long family! I will return all the suffering my mother suffered to you. David looked at the endless sea outside the window, and his whole person was changing. After disposing of Irvin's body, everyone returned to the hotel. It's just that no one spoke, the atmosphere was always depressed, especially Xiao Ru, her eyes were swollen from crying. David, go to Suolong Island tomorrow. Everything depends on your own good fortune. In order not to let the Long family notice you, I can't walk with you and protect you. Long Wu patted David on the shoulder. Uncle Long, don't worry, I will definitely take out Longjing and increase my strength. I will kill the Long family and rescue my mother. David said firmly. Just when a few people were about to go to rest, suddenly dozens of people broke into the hotel, all of them ferocious. Chapter 813. The leader of these people is that Wang Shuo. At this moment, Wang Shuo's face is full of ferocity. As soon as he enters the door, he shouts loudly, give me to block every exit, and I must not let these little girls escape, in Nanhua this place. No one dares to hit me yet, when I catch those little girls, let you play enough. Got it? Hearing what Wang Shuo said, the eyes of the dozens of people behind them all glowed, and they hurriedly blocked all the exits of the hotel. Your Highness, what's the matter? Why are you so angry today? At this time, the hotel manager hurried forward, took out a cigarette and prepared to hand it to Wang Shuo. Go away, some little girls beat me, and now I'm staying in your hotel, I'm going to find these people. Wang Shuo pushed the manager away, making the manager look embarrassed. However, Wang Shuo is the son of the richest man in Nanhua City. This manager can't afford to offend him, so he can only say with a smile, in this Nanhua world, there are still people who dare to do something to Wang Gongzi. It's really impatient to live, Wang Gongzi, tell me. I have their names, and I will send someone to check which room they live in right away. Wang Shuo was so touted by this manager, he felt very comfortable, and the anger in his heart subsided a lot. I don't know what it's called, but you go and bring the lists you registered to see how many girls live in the hotel. Call them out. When the manager heard this, his forehead instantly broke out in a cold sweat. There are hundreds of people living in this hotel, and there are hundreds of people who are indifferent women. If you call them out, wouldn't it be a mess, and the reputation of the hotel will also be affected, but Wang Shuo has spoken, the hotel the manager has to do it. Just when the hotel manager was embarrassed, Wang Shuo's eyes swept to Sonia and the others on the second floor. Wang Shuo took the lead in chasing towards the second floor, and the thugs behind him followed. Originally, the death of the Irvin made David and Sonia very sad. Now Wang Shuo has come to the door again. Whether it is Sonia or Gulinger, especially Xiaoru, murderous aura erupted. Feeling the murderous aura of several girls, David's scalp felt numb. He really couldn't understand what happened in the past few days. A lot of growth. As far as these girls are concerned, it is a matter of minutes to deal with the dozens of thugs brought by Wang Shuo, and it is not a grade at all. David, go back to your room, don't worry about this, I'm going to vent today. Looking at Wang Shuo who was leading someone up, Sonia said to David with a gloomy face. David hesitated, but he still went back to his room. With Xiaoru there, David was not worried about their safety. Now, Xiaoru's skill is probably comparable to that of a 7th grade grandmaster. Just Xiaoru alone, these dozens of thugs are not opponents, not to mention Gulinger and Sonia. Longwu took Wu Meier back to the room. After all, such a fight would not require Longwu to come forward, and Wu Meier had no effort. In this case, her charms were useless, so she simply returned. Room. Wang Shuo led people to the second floor, and saw that Sonia and the other girls didn't run away, they just stood there quietly, as if they were waiting for him. Wang Shuo glanced at the three of Sonia and said with a lustful look in his eyes, "You guys are so courageous, if you beat me, you still don't run for your life, and you still dare to live here. Can't you do anything?" The three girls glared at Wang Shuo. If eyes could kill, Wang Shuo would have died many times at this moment. Chapter 814. Hey, don't look at me like this, I'll be scared. Wang Shuo walked up to Sonia boldly with a mean smile on his face, reached out and touched Sonia's face, who had just been beaten on the beach. That scene, he may have forgotten. If you don't want to lose your hand, then get out of here. Sonia said to Wang Shuo coldly. Wang Shuo was stunned for a moment, and the outstretched hand also stopped, then the corner of his mouth raised. Damn, your temper is really strong, didn't you see the dozens of subordinates behind me? You dare to threaten me for a while. I will strip you all naked and throw them on the street to see if you are still rude. After Wang Shuo finished speaking, he waved his hand, and then he stepped back, probably because he was really afraid that Sonia would make a move. Wow! Dozens of people brought by Wang Shuo rushed up and surrounded Sonia and the three girls. At this moment, people in many rooms on the second floor opened the doors, and then looked at the scene in front of them with a lively attitude. You must know that many of the people who live here are warriors who are going to Suolong Island tomorrow. The minimum is the strength of the master, so they are not afraid of this Wang Shuo. Sister, do you want to help? As long as you stay with your brother for one night, your brother will send you this bunch of trash with one hand. A guy with a big beard leaned out from the door and asked Sonia and the others with a wretched face. Yes, don't say one hand, one finger, I can drive this bunch of trash away, as long as the girl nods her head and accompanies my brother for a few drinks. A thin guy with a pointed mouth and monkey cheeks followed suit. Sister, just say something, the brothers have destroyed all these guys. Yes, as long as the girl can accompany us happily. If there was a leader, the other warriors also followed suit, not paying any attention to Wang Shuo. This time, Sonia and the others weren't angry, but Wang Shuo was so angry that this was Nanhua City, his territory, but he didn't want these guys to ignore him at all. To know that he can bring dozens of people behind him, aren't these hotel guests afraid? Shut the fuck up and go back to your own room. Do you know who I am? My dad is the richest man in Nanhua City. You dare to make fun of you? Believe it or not, I will cut you down together. Wang Shuo angrily took the machete from one of his subordinates and waved it vigorously twice. Ha ha ha. Seeing Wang Shuo like that, all the roaring warriors actually laughed. In the eyes of these warriors, the richest man in Nanhua City is a piece of SHT. You must know that a grandmaster can dominate on one side, not to mention that there are still great grandmasters in Wuzong here. The Feng family and Wu family in Jiangbei provincial capital are just a grandmaster, but which one's assets do not exceed the richest man in Nanhua City, and now Wang Shuo is talking about this with a group of warriors, it's just a joke. Wang Shuo was not afraid to see these people, and dared to laugh at him, which made Wang Shuo's face flush with anger, and his eyes were burning. You wait for me, when I clean up these three little girls, I am cleaning up you. Wang Shuo gritted his teeth and said. As soon as Wang Shuo finished speaking, he saw a young man in a Chinese tunic suit with a folding fan coming over, followed by an old man behind the young man. David was also watching the situation in the room at the moment. When he saw the young man with the folding fan, he immediately recognized that this person was the Xian Yuan son he met in the restaurant. I'm afraid you won't have a chance to clean up these three girls. Young Master Xian Yuan looked at Wang Shuo indifferently and said. Chapter 815. Wang Shuo glanced at young Master Xian Yuan, and said with a cold face, do you want to stand up for them? Let me tell you, my dad is. Before Wang Shuo's words were finished, the old man behind Mr. Xian Yuan suddenly waved his hand, and the distance of several meters caused Wang Shuo's body to fly upside down in an instant. All of a sudden, he fell from the second floor to a hug, and then slammed onto the floor of a hug. The whole person was bleeding from 7 orifices, and his face was hideous. He couldn't die any longer. This time, when the dozens of subordinates brought by Wang Shuo saw this, they were so frightened that they turned their heads and ran away, and they disappeared without a trace in an instant. Young Master Xian Yuan glanced around, and the warriors who had been booing just now all returned to their rooms in despair, and it could be seen that they were very afraid of the person in front of them. Hello, my name is Xian Yuan Kai. Xian Yuan Kai stretched out his hand towards Sonia and the others, but in exchange, they only got the blank eyes of Sonia and the others. Originally, the three of them wanted Wang Shuo and the others to vent their grief and anger, but they didn't want this Xian Yuan Kai to come out and pretend to be a big-tailed wolf, so that the three of them's idea of venting their anger was shattered. Seeing this, David also walked out of the room. After taking a look at Xian Yuan Kai, he took the hands of Sonia and Gu Linger and said, let's go back to the room. Humph, Xiaoru snorted angrily at Xian Yuan Kai, and followed David and the others back to the room. Xian Yuan Kai was stunned for a while, watching David lead Sonia and the others into the room, and after closing the door, his eyes became slightly fascinated. Master! The old man behind Xian Yuan Kai stepped forward slightly and shouted in a low voice. Xian Yuan Kai waved his hand, the things I like can never escape, it's too late today, let's talk about it tomorrow. Xian Yuan Kai turned and left. In the room, Gu Linger blushed slightly, and threw off David's hand. David grabbed her and Sonia's hands just now, making Gu Linger's heart tense, and her heart almost didn't jump out. I'm sorry, I just did it casually, not on purpose. Seeing Gu Linger's blushing face, David hurriedly explained. Gu Linger shook her head, but secretly glanced at Sonia. She was afraid that Sonia would be jealous. It's just that Sonia was dumbfounded at the moment and didn't respond. Sonia, what's wrong with you? David also found that Sonia seemed to be in a bad mood, so he asked. Nothing. Sonia shook her head hastily. By the way, did Irvin tell you anything? What did you promise him? At this moment, David remembered what Irvin said before his death. "It's nothing, it's too late, you go to rest, we have to rest." Sonia pushed David out of the room. At this time, Wu Mei also returned to the room. The four girls were in the same room, and the atmosphere instantly became depressed and solemn. No one spoke, only each other's breathing could be heard. After a while, Sonia said, "Linger, if something happens to me, I hope you can help me take care of David." "Sonia, don't talk nonsense, didn't Butler Long say that, you don't necessarily have to sacrifice your life, maybe without your help, David can get Longjing himself." Gulinger comforted. Sonia smiled, she knew it was Gulinger comforting herself. "Linger, life and death have fate, I never thought about what kind of fire spirit body I am, but since I am now, then I am willing to pay for David without any regrets." Sonia smiled, but the smile was a bit sad. For a while, none of the four girls were talking, but Wu Meier couldn't understand what kind of charm this David had that would make the girls willing to give their lives for him. Chapter 816. In another room, David was begging Long Wu bitterly. "Uncle Long, just tell me what the Irvin said before he died? What does he want Sonia and the others to do?" David asked Long Wu. "Okay, go to bed soon, there are still many things to do tomorrow on Suolong Island, but remember, when you arrive on Suolong Island, you can't trust anyone except you." Long Wu warned David. "Aren't you going?" David was a little surprised. Long Wu shook his head, "If I go, the Long family will be able to find you soon, just a few of you, I'll stay here with Meier and wait for your good news." As soon as David heard it, he didn't say anything, and soon the two fell asleep. The next day, just after dawn, everyone left the hotel and went to the pier. At this moment, the dock is already full of people. A 5-story cruise ship is parked at the port. This cruise ship can hold thousands of people. It can be seen how many people went to Suolong Island this time. Although everyone knows that Suolong Island is dangerous, and it may be gone forever, the temptation of huge interests still makes these people rush to Suolong Island. The ticket check started, and everyone lined up to board the ship. There were many people who didn't buy tickets and wanted to sneak in, but they were all caught out. This cruise ship was from the Long family. People from the Long family, so it is almost impossible to evade fares. Did you see? There was a famous great master who didn't buy a ticket just now and wanted to sneak in, but he was beaten up and thrown out. I don't know what the origin of this Long family is. I haven't heard of it either. It must be a hidden family. Those who haven't seen these ticket checkers are all the masters. Let's just wait in line to check tickets." Not far in front of David, the two were discussing in a low voice, but the voice of the discussion had already clearly entered David's ears. It was the Long family who watched the ticket check. Thinking of his mother who was still tormented, David really killed all the Long family members, but he knew that with his current strength, he couldn't compete with the Long family at all. David can only hold his anger deep in his heart. When he is strong enough, he must kill the Long family and save his mother. Just as everyone was slowly queuing up to board the boat, suddenly a group of people crowded over and shouted for everyone to make way. David looked at it and found that it was Xian Yuankai, who jumped in front of the line with his subordinates. However, when everyone saw that it was Xian Yuankai, no one dared to say anything, so they just moved out of the way. When Xuan Yuankai led people past David and the others, he glanced at David with a deep meaning. Although Xian Yuankai led someone to jump in the queue, the Long family who checked the tickets didn't say anything, but let them go. But just as the queue was rearranging and continuing to check in and board the ship, there was a commotion at the back, and a group of people squeezed to the front again. A young man with dyed red hair and red trousers squeezed in with a group of people. When they saw this strangely dressed young man, everyone exclaimed in surprise. Thunder Torch Cheng Kun. With a trace of fear in everyone's eyes, they hurriedly avoided a path. I didn't expect this Devil King to come. A middle-aged man in his 50s in front of David had a trace of loneliness on his face. "Uncle, who is that young man?" David asked the middle-aged man in front of him curiously. David sensed that the young man in the red shirt and red pants was only a great master, not as strong as the Xuan Yuankai just now, but looking at the expressions of these people, he seemed to be very jealous of this guy, even more terrifying than that Xuan Yuankai. Chapter 817. The middle-aged man glanced at David and was about to say something when he suddenly became a little excited. "You? Are you David?" David was stunned, wondering how this middle-aged man knew him. Seeing David stunned, the middle-aged man hurriedly explained, "You followed that Qin Xiaolan's fight, I watched it, everyone who knew you, I didn't expect you to defeat Wu Zong and kill that Qin Xiaolan at such a young age. It's amazing." Being so praised by the middle-aged man, David felt a little embarrassed. After smiling, he asked again, "Uncle, what happened to the Demon King you just mentioned?" After recognizing David, the middle-aged man immediately explained to David enthusiastically, "This person is Cheng Kun, the only son of Cheng's Shang, the master of Perak Gate. He is hot and ruthless. In many battles, most of them are clicked, and will not hurt lives, but this guy, as long as he makes a killing move, no one knows how many people died in his hands, but Cheng's Shang stepped on it very early. Entering the realm of Wuzong, he is an old-fashioned Wuzong with strong strength, so many people dare not provoke this Cheng Kun, and they all hide away when they see him." After that Cheng Kun squeezed to the front, he raised his eyes and looked around. Soon, some warriors lowered their heads and dared not look at him. Some warriors even left quietly and did not intend to go to Suolong Island. No one wants to provoke this killer. Cheng Kun brightened the ticket, but the ticket checker did not stop him either, and put Cheng Kun in. "I didn't expect that the eldest young master of the dignified Perak Gate would also come to join in the fun." At this time, Xuan Yuankai had already stepped into the cabin, and when he saw Cheng Kun approaching, he sneered. Hearing Xuan Yuankai's tone, there was a bit of disdain. "You are allowed to come, Mr. Xuan Yuan, so you won't allow me to come?" Cheng Kun raised his mouth. "No one from the Long family said anything, you are meddling with mice." Xuan Yuankai's face sank. "With your little strength, you will die if you come here." Xuan Yuankai's eyes were full of disdain. Of course, he also has disdain capital. He is about the same age as Cheng Kun, but now he is already at the peak of the great master's strength, and that Cheng Kun is only worthy of the 5th grade strength of the great master. This is still Thunder Gate. After spending a lot of money searching for a lot of panacea for him to eat, he reached this state. "Humph, it's uncertain who lives and who dies," Cheng Kun snorted coldly. For a while, the smell of gunpowder was full of gunpowder, and before they reached Suolong Island, these people were already hostile. "You two are so boring, why don't you call me here?" At this time, a vain, rebellious young man walked directly towards the cabin, and behind him were 4 or 5 tall masters. Seeing this person, many warriors all gasped. It's broken, these 3 big devils gathered together, I'd better withdraw." The middle-aged man in front of David, after seeing the young man who came again, was so frightened that he turned around and left, not planning to go to Suolong Island. "Uncle, who is this?" David grabbed the middle-aged man and asked. "This is Zhao Chuang, the eldest son of the Zhao family in Wuying Mountain Villa. Today is really lively. I advise you not to go. Be careful that you will lose your life." After the middle-aged man finished speaking, he left in a hurry. David saw that many warriors had turned away one after another, and threw away the ticket directly. Instead of going to Lock Dragon Island, nearly half of the people left. The 3 young people scared away half of the warriors, which shows that the strength of these 3 families is extraordinary. David's consciousness swept over that Zhao Chuang, and his brows could not help but wrinkle slightly. This guy has just stepped into the strength of a master. Among the hundreds of people, anyone who pulls out will be stronger than this guy. Dare to go to Suolong Island. Chapter 818. Zhao Chuang. Cheng Kun and Xian Yuankai both shouted when they saw the person coming. Just your ability to join in the fun? Be careful to let the beasts on the island eat you. Cheng Kun said half-jokingly. I'm afraid that your kid won't be able to reach Suolong Island, and his life will be gone. Xian Yuankai also said with a smile. You two are too much, how can you curse me like this? Although my cultivation level is lower than yours, I have more women than you. Zhao Chuang was not angry, but justified with a smug look on his face. Okay, you're just as good as you are, show it off to us, isn't it shameful? Cheng Kun glanced at Zhao Chuang and said. Hey, Brother Kun, I don't want to learn from you, I will kill people at every turn. I have no other ability, I just like to follow women. Zhao Chuang he smiled and said. Have you had enough fun with women? Do you want to die? Xian Yuankai glanced at Zhao Chuang disdainfully. Brother Kai, what are you talking about? When women don't have enough fun, I'm just here to find excitement, not to fight with you. When I get to the island, I want you to protect me. Zhao Chuang said glibly. David looked at this Zhao Chuang, but he didn't expect this guy to be quite smooth, and it seemed that he had a good relationship with that Cheng Kun and Xian Yuankai. Okay, when the time comes, you follow me, don't run around. As the saying goes, don't hit the smiling face. This Zhao Chuang, as the young owner of the shadowless villa, kept his posture so low, and shouted at each other, so he couldn't help but give face. The three of them walked towards the cabin lobby, while the others started to line up again to check in and board the ship. At this time, in a room on the highest point of the 5th floor of the cabin, a young man wearing a tunic suit with a slender face and a face as resolute as a knife was looking down at everything on the bow. This person is Long Xingxiu of the Long family. He was already in the realm of Wuzong at a young age. Although Long Xingxiu is only a sideline of the Long family, there are not many people who can reach the realm of Wuzong at this age. After a short period of time, he will be able to get the opportunity to wash the flesh of the Long family. If he can, he will be able to step into the immortal cultivation realm and enter the core of the Long family. Master, no trace of Long Wu was found in the crowd, and Butler Long was no longer among them. A servant walked up to Long Xingxiu and whispered a report. Long Wu is not stupid, how could it be possible to land on Long Island? Wouldn't that let us know at a glance who we are looking for? As for the housekeeper Long, he forced his way into Long Island, and his body has already been seriously injured. It is estimated that by now already dead. Long Xingxiu still looked at everything on the bow, as if he wanted to see through everyone below. Young master, there is one more thing. Now Swan Yuan's family, Pilaman and Wuying Mountain Villa have sent people, and they are all the eldest young masters of each family. Do you think our plan is still implemented? The next person asked. Implementation, the big deal is to send someone to talk to the three families. This time we would rather kill by mistake than let one go. Long Xingxiu's eyes flashed fiercely, and at first glance, he was a ruthless guy. Soon, everyone got on the boat, and with the sound of a whistle, the cruise ship slowly set off towards Suolong Island. David took the plan and went to the front desk, and then booked a room. It would take a few hours to get to Suolong Island. He couldn't sit all the time. He found a room to rest. David also just avoided everyone's attention. If he was caught by the Qin family, people found out, and it was troublesome. Just as David was walking towards the front desk, suddenly a man wearing a black suit, black hat and black sunglasses passed by David. The man's hands were very white. After surpassing David, he walked quickly to the front desk. Chapter 819. Evil Repair? As soon as this man rubbed shoulders with David, David's consciousness instantly sensed that this man was an evil cultivator, and he was full of evil spirits. When David's eyes touched the man in the black suit, the man obviously paused, looked back, and walked forward again. David also ignored it and went to the front desk. After all, at this time, David didn't want to cause more trouble and cause unnecessary trouble. "Get me a room! Get me a room!" The man in the black suit and David spoke to the front desk almost simultaneously. This time, the front desk was embarrassed and took out a room card. "Two gentlemen, I'm sorry, there is only one room." David followed the man in the suit to look at each other, and then the man in the suit took the room card directly into his hand while the front desk was not paying attention. After the man in the suit got the room card, he turned around and left. He didn't want to have too much contact with David, and it seemed that he didn't want to cause trouble. After all, evil cultivators are despised in the martial arts world. If these warriors know that they are evil cultivators, they will definitely be attacked by a group. This man in a suit does not want to reach Suolong Island, and he has become the target of siege by everyone. "Stop for me!" Just when the man in the black suit was about to leave with the room card, he was suddenly stopped by Sonia and the three girls. The three of them saw the scene at the front desk just now. This guy didn't say a word, grabbed the room card and left. It's really impolite. After all, if the guy wants a room at the same time, it doesn't matter if he can give him the room, but this guy's attitude made Sonia and the three very angry, so he gave the man in the suit to him. "Stopped? What?" the man in the suit asked Sonia and the three of them with a glance. "You are too rude. Why did you take the room card? Leave the room card!" Gulinger angrily accused the man in the suit. The man in the suit turned his head and glanced at David, knowing that Sonia and the others were with David, and did not speak, but turned slightly, preparing to bypass Sonia and the others and continue to leave. "You are too unreasonable, and you still want to run away with the room card." Sonia hurriedly stopped the man in the suit again. "Get out of the way, or I'll be rude to you," the man in the suit said coldly. "You're welcome, what can I do?" Sonia was not afraid at all. Not to mention that David is here, with Xiru's current skills, ordinary warriors are not opponents at all, let alone three of them. At this time, some people around saw that there was a lot of excitement, and hurriedly gathered around. When they saw that it was Sonia and the three girls, they all came to the spirit and started to boo. After all, after a few hours of boring sailing, it's good to have a little interlude in the middle. Zhao Chuang, who was already lying in the room, heard a commotion in the cabin below, and got up curiously. When he saw Sonia and the three girls through the window of his room, his eyes almost didn't pop out. Zhao Chuang got up in a hurry and ran down in a hurry, while several of his subordinates hurriedly followed. David saw more and more people gathering on the side, causing some trouble and affecting Deng Suolong Island, so he planned to come over and let Sonia and the three forget it. But just as David took 2 steps, he saw Zhao Chuang hurried down with someone from upstairs. When the onlookers saw that Zhao Chuang had brought someone, they hurriedly avoided the path. "Fkook, you are a big man, what is it to bully girls? I see the person who bullies women the most." When Zhao Chuang came, he scolded the man in the suit indiscriminately, and then showed his face looking at Sonia and the three of them with a wretched smile. He said, "Don't be afraid of the 3 sisters, my brother decides for you." Chapter 820. The 3 of them, Sonia, almost vomited when they looked at Zhao Chuang's wretched appearance, but Sonia held back and said, "This room card belongs to us, but he stole it." When Zhao Chuang heard this, he looked at the room card in the man in the suit and said with a smile, "Sister, don't worry, I'll ask you to come here." After Zhao Chuang finished speaking, he winked at the subordinates beside him. Zhao Chuang's subordinate nodded, then looked at the man in the suit arrogantly and said, "Leave the room card. Is this room card handled by me?" The man in the black suit was not in a hurry and said in a calm tone, "Don't fucking talk nonsense, just stay if you stay." Zhao Chuang's subordinate's tone was tough, and his face was full of arrogance. The man in the black suit looked at Zhao Chuang's subordinates, then looked at Zhao Chuang again. He ignored him, turned around, and was about to leave. There were more and more people here. Identity. Seeing that the man in the suit was ignoring him, Zhao Chuang's men frowned, and immediately rushed up, directly blocking the way of the man in the black suit. I told you to leave the room card, are you deaf? Zhao Chuang's subordinate frowned slightly and asked sharply. Go away. The man in the black suit had a hint of anger at this time. Zhao Chuang's subordinates did not expect that the other party would be so tough, and even dared to scold him. Knowing that their Wuying villa is famous, who would dare to talk to him like this? What's more, he is still a 5th grade grandmaster, how can he tolerate others' insults? Seeing that the man in the black suit was so arrogant, Zhao Chuang couldn't help frowning slightly, his face was full of gloomy colors, and someone dared not give him Zhao Chuang's face, damn it! Zhao Chuang's subordinates saw that their eldest young master's face was not good, and they knew that they had lost face to Zhao Chuang. If they went back, they would not be able to run away with a single punishment, so they shouted angrily and reached out to grab the man in the black suit. The strength of the 5th grade grandmaster should not be underestimated. At this time, Swan Yuankai and Cheng Kun also came. When Swan Yuankai saw Sonia and the three of them, he was stunned for a moment, but then the corner of his mouth raised, and he also guessed why Zhao Chuang was in conflict with others. Zhao Chuang, your people are going to suffer. After Shen Yuankai glanced at the man in the suit, he smiled at Zhao Chuang and said. Swan Yuankai had already noticed that this person was not low in cultivation, and although he deliberately concealed his breath, Swan Yuankai could still feel it. What a joke, my servant is the strength of a 5th grade grandmaster, how could it be at a disadvantage? Zhang Chuang sneered. Seeing that Zhao Chuang didn't care, Shen Yuankai didn't speak, he just smiled and watched. Seeing the other party's shot, the man in the black suit turned cold, his face suddenly grim, and his whole body was full of anger. Although he was afraid of revealing his identity, the man in the suit had been holding back, but now that the other party has been provocative again and again, how could he not be angry? Just as Zhao Chuang's subordinates shot at him, the man in the black suit suddenly punched him. The strength of the great master's peak. At this moment, the man in the black suit's cultivation base was exposed. Shen Yuankai couldn't help but stunned for a moment, he didn't expect that someone would follow him with the same cultivation base, and the age of the other party was not very old. Be careful! An old man beside Zhao Chuang immediately reminded him when he saw the opponent's shot, and he was still at the peak of the great grandmaster's strength. Bang! But it was too late, and the opponent slammed Zhao Chuang's body with a punch. I saw Zhao Chuang's subordinates screamed, the whole person flew out, and then fell heavily onto the cabin. A mouthful of blood spurted out, and Zhao Chuang's subordinates were pale, like dead people. Zhao Chuang's other subordinates took a look and surrounded the man in the black suit one after another.